A vignette is a lovely effect that can be easily created in Lightroom. As an effect, I love a very subtle vignette and I tend to include one in a lot of my images. It essentially mimics the effect from older camera lenses where the outside of the image is darker than the centre. But the effect of a very subtle vignette can really help to draw the viewer's eyes into your photo and into the middle of your image. In this video, I'm going to show you two ways to create a vignette in Lightroom. There's the way that most photographers do it, and there's another way that's just as simple, but allows for far greater control over your vignette effect. My name's Steve, this is Behind the Tripod, and let's open up Lightroom and get stuck into today's video. Hey, so welcome to Lightroom. This is a picture from Whitby that I took a little while ago, and I finished my edit with it. I'm very pleased with it, but I feel it just needs a slight, very subtle vignette just to draw the eye in towards the centre of the image, because I think at the minute the eye kind of goes out, and I want the eye really to be drawn in towards those two lighthouses and the beautiful light that I had that morning. So if we come down, I promised you two ways of doing a vignette, and there's a couple of ways of doing this. So the first way is to come all the way down here, find effects, click on effects, and then we have our vignettes here. There's a couple of things to be aware of. We've got style, highlight priority, color priority, and paint overlay. If I'm going to do a vignette, I'll choose a paint overlay because it gives a general vignette across the whole of the image. If you use one of the highlights, it picks and chooses which area of the image will be vignetted. Not everything gets cut out, so I like to do a paint overlay. And again, if we look down at amount now, we can see we can start to reduce the vignette, almost making it white so it looks clear on the outside. You'll see some images this works really well for. Of note, I really like to work with this space here, but this bit up here, the small thumbnail, is absolutely essential doing vignettes because we can get really wrapped up in looking at our image and sort of looking at the bits and pieces. Is there too much up here or down here? This gives you a really good overview as a thumbnail and lets you see what the image will look like if you're kind of stepping back from the image, or maybe how it would look on Instagram or social media, or as I said, printed but on a wall rather than pixel peeping and getting close to it. Okay, so we can go the other way. This gives us our dark vignette. Now, I'd never do a vignette this dark on an image, and the reason I'm feeling so confident to do this in Lightroom, because remember, Lightroom is non-destructive. I'm not doing anything to my original image. But I'm going to leave it dark for now, just to show you what these vignettes do. So the next point here is midpoint. So we can change the midpoint. We can bring it in, and we can bring it out. I'm going to bring it right in because it will help us highlight again what's happening with the roundness. And this essentially is how round is our vignette. It is exactly what it says on the tin. So we can make it squarer, or we can make it round or slightly different shaped as we go. So you can play around with your vignettes there. I'm going to go back to the center. And then the feather is just how firm or strong the outline is of the vignette. So we can have here a strong sort of zero feather. So it's almost like a blocked line. And we can go the other way and have a really sort of mild feather. So that's one way of doing a vignette. Now I'm going to Control Z and just undo those. I'm going to do it this way rather than going through the history, just because it's probably a little bit quicker. Okay, got rid of that vignette now. The way that I prefer is to come up here, all the way to the top. Okay, we've got these masks here. I'm going to add a mask. Okay, what the mask does is give something over the top of it. So if we add a mask, I'm going to do it up here because I'm already using a mask on here. So I'm just going to add another mask. And I'm looking for the radial gradient one, which is here. Okay, I'm going to add a radial gradient mask in. Now they're a little bit bigger. You can get a little bit confused with the names of these, so you might want to change the name of them. If you're happy with kind of knowing where you are with things, you can leave it as it is. But when we're doing a radial gradient, start at the top and just pull down, and you're going to pull down a sort of double circle. Doesn't really matter where you do it because we're going to put it into position. So you push, you just hold and drag, and you can put it to wherever you want it, and then you can alter it. So if we look at this, there's two circles. This is your feather, okay? And I'm going to come into the center. Anything red is what will be affected, and we don't want to be affecting the inside, it's the outside. So we're going to first of all invert our mask. Okay, touch in the middle, you'll see now it's the outside that we're affecting. So this is, as I said, this is the feather. So this is how much feather you've got between what we're doing here and what we're not doing here. So we can increase or decrease the feather just by touching on it and making it smaller or bigger. Okay, I'm going to keep it around here. And then we can come to the outsides now. We can start to warp or change the shape of the gradient filter. So I'm going to pull that more central there, get it into the middle where I want it. Okay, it's looking good. I'm just going to pull it in slightly, just pull that up. Oh, that's being a bit sticky there. There we go. Pull it back into the center. Yeah, that looks about right. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so from here, the beauty of using it with a mask rather than doing the original way, using the vignette tool, is that you have now full control over all of these aspects of your image. So I might choose just going with the exposure and just drop it a little bit, just give it a little bit of a vignette. Okay, and coming into the center, I think I'm just going to reduce here just to keep the inside nice and light, and I might make my actual vignette now a little bit bigger. Okay, let's see how that's looking. So you can see up here what that's looking like. So again, I might just drop the exposure by a touch. They could go all the way down. Don't really like a strong vignette. It's just very subtle. Just to really highlight these and the light that I've got here. But you could choose to just start to pick out the shadows now, just to drop a few of the shadows, but you might want to keep the highlights. So I might want to increase the highlights a little bit, increase the whites that were in the vignette. So I'm literally just dropping the shadows around here. So you see, you can use it as an effect. So it's not just a blanket vignette, but you can really play around. You can play around with the color temperature, you can play around the saturation, you can adjust the curves if you know what the curves are. You've got your sort of your other effects here, textures and clarity. So you can do so much with it. So it's not just a blanket black circle. You can pull out certain details and you can use it to highlight light, such as this, which is what I'm going to play around with here. So play around and try and get that light as the sort of the focus of the image, because that's the focus, is the light and the lighthouses. And again, just keep looking up here, seeing how it looks. So again, once we're happy, click off that, come back over here, and let's have a look and see how the image looked before and after. So this is my before, this is my after image, and I love the effect of the very subtle vignette and what that's given to my image there. So it really draws the eye into the center. So again, just a way of using vignettes. You can use these vignettes beautifully for things like portraits, to really highlight the face. You can move the circle to the face while I'm having central, so we're highlighting the face and darkening the outside slightly, or aspects of the outside. It's really powerful. So if you're going to play with vignettes, I really encourage you to play around with the masking rather than the gradient mask, rather than just the blanket post-crop vignette, which is a bit of a blunt instrument for your images. What do you struggle with most in Lightroom Classic, and is there anything you'd like me to cover in a future video? If so, please comment below, and remember to like and subscribe for more tutorials just like this one. This video is part of a Lightroom tutorial playlist which you can find right here. And if you'd like to learn more about what all those sliders I talked about do, check out this video here.